wanna rock right now. I'm 19, I came to get down. I'm not internationally known, but I feel rock bass when it comes to the microphone. You know I straight rock that. New money came through when we dropped that. Tastebreakers on the beat, can't stop that. Power for a couple dogs with a block at. Woo!
Welcome to TV Dinner, episode 21, featuring Thomas representing Budatom. I like that, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Glad to be
Loved
here.
the performance.
Thank you.
Loved hearing some of your story already. I didn't want to get too involved because that's what I want this conversation to be. But from what I heard, this is going to be a really, really dope interview. For the people at home who don't know who you are, let them know who Thomas is and let them know what you are representing with Budatom.
So my name's Thomas B. Waring. That's my original name. The name of my project is currently called Budatom. Budatom is a one-word phrase spelled B-U-D-A-T-O-M. Budatom. When I was growing up, I was open about newfound perceptions I was discovering in my life. And I was really into meditation and spirituality at a young age. And I had this really tight-knit group of friends. We were called the Funk Boys. Everyone had a nickname. There was like Funky Jake, Wolfman, Jack Brack, Lil White, and then Buddha Tom. And originally it was a separate word like Buddha and then Tom because I was the quote unspiritual one of the group that was talking about things like the law of attraction and karma. Sure. And we were like 15, 16 years old, so it birthed that name. As I was growing up doing music and studying this philosophy and spirituality, I realized that a lot of what I really like in music is creating music that has like an enlightening message in it. The word and nickname Buddha Tom to me felt more like a state of being I would experience at times. I would feel these really intense moments of connection with myself and the world around me. This heightened sense of aware presence that would evade the way I perceptually lived my life. And when it came time to choose a name as an artist and for a project based on what I was already motivated for at the time, I thought of Budatom. This like one-word phrase that signifying this like way of being or experiencing life. To me, Budatom is a word like namaste or like bodhisattva or samadhi, like a word from the East that just means a state of consciousness. And that's the foundation that for me for so long has been what this music has been about. So that's where Budatom really came from.
I could definitely tell that you really personify and live everything that you were just talking about. I think a really interesting way for everyone to get some insight into that is the journey that you've been on recently.
Right.
I mean, the way that Tay found you, she literally heard your voice on the streets of Burbank, was it, right? And she found you, got your information, was like, we need to get you on the show. And she sent us the videos of you playing, and I was like, wow, this dude's voice is insane. And, you know, that's already such a serendipitous thing to happen, just to hear you on the streets of Burbank. And then now you're here. So why don't you tell everyone about the journey that you've been on?
For the past few years before this last year, I was street performing about 5 years ago in Florida where I lived, and I got picked up by Mandy Moore's old manager. His name is Sean Fisher, and he was like, you need to come play music at Disney World. So he ended up getting me on audition, and I became one of Disney's bigger acts in an area of Disney called Downtown Disney. I did that for a couple of years, and then once I released my first kind of demo or self-produced little project, I was really tired of the life that I was living there. It was putting this burden on music because it was a job for me, and I was playing covers and like I felt dead. So I had this idea one night. I was like, you know what? What if I just bought a van and left and just traveled? And that idea wouldn't leave me. And so then I was like, I need to leave Disney. So I told Disney I'm leaving, and I bought a van, which name is Leon, and I took it and I decked it out and turned it into this like wood-coated recording studio of a van. And on the 1st of 2018, I left from Maryland. And if you look at the country on my hand, Maryland being here and California being here, I basically did this all 2018. And then ended up like a big 6 and ended up here in LA right about the 1st of December. And now I'm here to do music and take things forward with all the things I've written and discovered from this past year of soul searching. So I currently still live in that van, and he's such a sweetie, takes care of me, and that's currently my lifestyle. Last year was the best year of my life in the world.
I have a massive amount of respect for people who answer that inner voice and listen to it. Most people would be afraid to take such a leap. I mean, bro, that's a ballsy move to just drop what is a very good situation. You said you were making great money, still doing music, still probably had the ability to, do your other music stuff, but you weren't feeling fulfilled, and you had this voice telling you just go for it, just do it, and you listened to it and took a huge risk. So, man, I gotta applaud you. That's really, really dope. I'm curious, what are some of the most valuable things that you've learned on this journey this past year?
The biggest thing I think I learned is how easy it is to not perceive things because we're so close to our lives. Like traveling and stepping so far out of anything I had known before was such a powerful eye-opener. They say you can't see the picture if you're in the frame. And leaving my life behind, I changed my number. I didn't give anybody my number. I still haven't talked to just about anybody from my old hometown. I was like, I need to restart and leave it all behind. And doing that and going my own way, which is actually the name of my record. I don't have it here right now, but it's the whole what the first Budatom album was about. That was such an eye-opening experience. And another huge thing I learned was how to move on. I became so much more unattached and appreciative in a real way of the experiences I had with people, knowing they would be over. Because they say death brings us closer to life. Well, you have a mini death every time you move on when you travel. I would have these amazing connections, whether it be with a friend or a girl or it doesn't matter. And I would have to move on, or I wouldn't have to, but I would choose to move on. And it taught me so much about appreciating what I'm at. Also, it just taught me about what it means to really feel free. I didn't have any responsibility. I made all my living last year doing street performing and stuff with cryptocurrency. So I was able to live my whole entire life and do whatever I wanted, travel wherever I wanted. The universe provided more than enough for me, and it taught me the biggest thing it taught me was what it really means to enjoy life, what it really means to live a passionate existence.
Do you think that you'd be able to find yourself in a situation where you settle down and at the same location for years at a time after an experience like this?
And still feel the same?
Still feel the same.
I think yes, because I think it's more about where we're at in our lives at the time. Some people would not find that joy of life the same way I did traveling. It's just I needed that at the time. My soul and my spirit, or whatever word we want to use to describe, needed that so much that it was so refreshing to have. My next step that I really am going to appreciate is locking myself away in a cabin in Colorado for a few years and working on a really masterful concept album. And just being in the woods and being able to walk around and come back and record. And that to me will probably be the next thing that brings me as much joy as traveling has.
So before we get to that point where you're locked away in the cabin, you're in LA right now. So what is the next move for you musically? What are you trying to accomplish while you're here?
That's a good question. To answer that question simply, I'm here in LA now because I'm ready to connect with my team of people that are going to help me craft the vision that I'm now close enough to and I understand enough to really take it into the world. So I'm really trying to find my people, my managers and the producers and label I end up working with. And I spent a lot of time last year writing music and writing what I think is some of the best music I've ever written, just the motifs in it. And just I feel connected enough to myself that I can actually connect with the right people. So now I'm here in LA because I feel like LA is a hub of people that are passionate about artistic projects. So I'm here in LA now to make myself public and to try to find the people that see music and will see me and see my potential and help me work and create that and do something that can really impact the planet.
Absolutely. So you want to come out of it with an album for sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with singles. And the record I did, I've already released a record you can find online under the Budatom project. That is called My Own Way. I'll probably end up redoing that because it was something I just did in my bedroom. And it was more of I needed to get it out of me to be able to move on. And as soon as I finished it, I was I'm ready to travel. So it was very immediate. As soon as that left me, something else needed to come in. I've already written the whole next record, but it's just more about being strategic and how I go about this moving forward and finding the people to help me do that. And I've been discovering people, and that's why I'm here right now at this event to meet people. And you never know who will be where and what leads to what.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm very curious. What is the wildest story that you have from your travels this past year?
Oh, that's a good one.
Craziest
That's
thing.
a good one. This is something that was powerful for me, a really intense, powerful time. For a lot of my life, I've been unsatisfied with the amount of social comfortability I've had. And I've always been into psychology and the study of socialization and dynamics between human beings, how human beings function and how we're comfortable or not comfortable. And so I took it upon myself. I was in San Marcos, Texas, and I just gotten there, and I was like, I am done feeling afraid of people. So I would go out every single day, and I would go up and just talk to random people. I just spent this period of time of 2 weeks literally just like pursuing anything socially that would make me uncomfortable, and it taught me to really love myself. The time I was just like so alive and adrenaline out on, like, my fear was just always there, and I was always pushing this barrier.
There is definitely a lot of value in putting yourself in an uncomfortable position on a consistent basis, especially from a growth perspective. I too share pretty similar interests as you do in terms of just like social dynamics. And one thing I remember I had heard on a podcast was like, you know, do small things like ask for a discount when you're getting a coffee, you know, just put yourself in like really uncomfortable random situations that's like you would never think of doing, and just like, fuck it, do it. Why not? You know, maybe you'll get the discount. What's the worst thing you're going to say? No. And then you're going to pay the amount that you were planning on paying anyways, you know, but it's just kind of getting you used to doing things that are uncomfortable, being comfortable with the possibility of rejection, and being able to move forward from that. Something that you said, moving on, you know, not letting these things, you know, weigh you down in any way.
Yeah. Not being afraid of no.
Exactly.
Rejection, like you said. That's
yeah.
huge cause of why people don't go for their dreams, or in small things, don't go to talk to that person they want to talk to, or ask for something they really need, or open up. To learn to approach your fears completely changes everything, because instead of your fears being a signal of like hide, it's a signal of like go. And that's, I think, the biggest difference between people that find real success and happiness in their lives. They've changed their relationship with their fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I typically have a certain question as the final one for this, but I'm gonna alter it. My normal question is usually, you're stranded on an island, you only got 3 albums. What would those albums be? But you were traveling, so I imagine that you had to really downsize the items that you brought with you. What would you say were when you were packing, were the top 3 most important items that you knew you had to bring along with you on this journey, no matter what?
Okay, definitely guitar. Yeah, I almost shouldn't count
that
that.
one. That's
it
obvious.
almost.
But no, it's part of it. That's one for sure.
My iPad, because I use it as I learned this past year from getting closer with my relationship with creativity, that I really like to write on an iPad. I can move my things around in lyrics. I used to always do it in a journal, because I think that's how we all perceive like a natural writer should, under the tree, writing in the book. You know, just like you know, whatever.
For sure.
I want to say my iPod, or like my music, so I can jam my music. Totally. I could also answer that first question too, because that's a really good one.
Do it, yeah.
A Tycho record, the Epoch record. I would say John Mayer's Searching for Everything, The Search for Everything, and then Tame Impala, the Currents record.
Great life. And you didn't hesitate. Most people, they're hung up on that. You're like, you answered the first question. You're like, all right, I'm ready for the second one.
Right.
Nice, man. Thomas, appreciate it. This was a great conversation, my man. Thank you again for everything. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks.
TV Dinner, episode 21, featuring Thomas, representing Budatom.
Budatom, also known as Tommy. Yeah.
It's available on all platforms. Where can you find it?
Budatom music anywhere. Budatom. I think, you can find Budatom. The album is My Own Way. That's the current one out. You can look everywhere. So
cool. And if you guys like what you see, as always, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever.
These are good people. Like, subscribe.
And
smash the like button, mate.
Smash it.
Smash it, mate.
Smash that like button.
Subscribe.
We'll see you guys next time. It's a wrap.